Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the I Play 2 podcast. I'm your host, Rob Adler. This week, Georgia Southern football player Beau Johnson joins the show. While playing for American Heritage High School in Florida, he was a part of 2 state championship teams. In 2021 with Georgia Southern, Beau had a touchdown catch in 3 consecutive games. Off the field, he is an aspiring chef who one day hopes to open up his own restaurant. His father, Charles Johnson, is a 4-time Gold Glove winner at catcher and won the 1997 World Series as a member of the Florida Marlins, and Beau's brother, Brandon Johnson, currently plays wide receiver for the Denver Broncos. Beau, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Can't complain. God is good.
I hear you're getting ready to do some traveling this weekend. Where are you headed?
I'm headed back to Fort Lauderdale, Florida to spend a couple more days with my family before we get ready, rocking and rolling for fall camp.
Camp starts next week, is that right?
Yes, sir, on Tuesday next week.
Nice. So heading back home to Florida, you're going to get yourself a few good home-cooked meals before you get back to campus?
Absolutely. That's mandatory.
What's a favorite home-cooked meal that you like to have?
Ooh. I would say any type of seafood or Caribbean dish. My mom, her family's from the Bahamas, so she likes to make a lot of indigenous cuisine to the Bahamas, and I enjoy all of it.
What's some native cuisine to the Bahamas that maybe a lot of listeners may not be familiar with?
We have a lot of conch, like conch salad or conch fritters. We do like minced lobster dishes, peas and rice. We do a lot of things, man, but a lot of it revolves around seafood for sure. Oh, my grandma makes a mean snapper that I'm looking forward to as well. So just a lot of seafood.
You're going to have to doing some extra training over the weekend as well.
Yes, sir. Can't take too many days off. We'll definitely get some workouts in.
Are the home-cooked meals and the family meals kind of where you get your love of cooking from?
Yeah, I would definitely say that was the start, the foundation. I definitely always just paid attention in the kitchen when my mom and dad used to make food, my grandma as well. And I just took a liking to it. And then when I got to college and realized I kind of had to operate on my own, I figured I'll start doing cooking for myself.
What kind of things do you like to create in the kitchen?
I really like to cook a lot of things. I'll say my cookbook is very eclectic, to say the least, but I definitely do enjoy making a nice steak since that's my favorite food.
Is it just steak on the grill, or do you season it and make it a little bit differently?
Like my favorite technique, I would say, is I like to reverse sear, honestly. I love getting on the grill. You can't beat that. But just for conveniency purposes in a college apartment, a pan sear, you can't go wrong. Season it up, bake it on low in the oven, and then put it on the piping hot cast iron, and you're good to go.
And I'm going to have to get myself to Georgia Southern. That sounds delicious.
Absolutely.
Your SID, Brian, told me that one day you hope to open up your own restaurant. Is that something that you're learning how to do as you're in college?
It's actually a blessing that I'm in the place that I'm at. Georgia Southern, they definitely do a good job with giving you opportunities to network outside of football. I've definitely been able to build some connections and stuff like that to whereas once I get out of football, it's definitely people I can go to just pick their brains. Heck, I'm picking brains right now as we speak, but definitely have some pivotal pieces that help me in my career when I move forward after football.
And with Georgia Southern's location being not that far from Savannah, I think it's like an hour, if I remember right.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any connections there, or would that be a spot that you might look to open up a place?
I didn't put too much thought into that, but you might have just given me a great idea, honestly. I need to go take a look in the Savannah area, see who I could connect with.
Lots of good seafood and lots of good restaurants there. It's been a while since I've been to Savannah, but there was some good food there.
Absolutely.
Transitioning back into football here, how did your love of football begin?
To be completely honest, I didn't really like football, honestly, growing up too much. I didn't really care for it. Baseball was my first love for sure. But as I got older, just seeing my brother get recruited and stuff for football, getting recruited by some of the top programs, it was just really exciting to see. So it kind of was just like, maybe this life is for me as well. So I kind of just chose this route, and then that was that.
You mentioned you like baseball, at least initially. What attracted you to baseball so much?
I don't know. I can't say I can pinpoint anything besides watching my dad growing up, just going to the games and being a part of that whole sequence, it was just always cool to watch. So that's my hero. Still is my hero, but my hero growing up. So I definitely just took a liking to it from there.
As your dad was a catcher, was that something that you wanted to play as well?
I always did admire my dad for being behind the plate, squatting for a countless amount of hours because that is not something that I wanted to or could do.
Since you weren't a catcher, where did you decide that you wanted to play?
I played third base, left field, and right field. Those were my main positions. I kind of just switched around there.
Kind of a little bit like Ben Zobrist there. You work in the rest of the infield, you're good to go.
Absolutely.
You mentioned your brother, and obviously your dad was a great athlete as well. How competitive is your family, both on and off the athletic field?
Definitely pretty competitive. Obviously, it's friendly competing. Never gets to the point where there's anybody about to fight somebody else, but we definitely are competitive, especially when it comes to like the family games and all that type of stuff. And then on the field, that speaks for itself. My dad had that edge. My brother has that edge as well. And I'd like to say that I do too.
Speaking of getting that edge, was there any advice that your dad has given you to help you seek that edge and gain an advantage on the field?
There's countless amount of advice he's given me, but the one that always sticks with me is he always tells my brother and me, all we need to do is go out there and be us, and the rest will take care of itself. Don't try to be somebody you're not. Don't try to do something that you're not used to doing. Just be you, and the rest will take care of itself.
That's pretty good advice because if you're trying to be somebody else, usually that ends up not turning out well.
Absolutely.
In terms of your growing football career, when growing up did you realize that you might have had a chance to play in college?
I'll say definitely in high school. My early years of high school, like freshman year, like I was just out there kind of beginning of sophomore year. And then I ended up being on some pretty good teams. It was just fun. Everybody's winning. You see everybody getting offers and everything like that. So everything is starting to like feel believable. But obviously there's still doubts when you don't have any offers. But I'd say definitely the turning point was when I got my first offer. That was pretty exciting. And I was like, okay, like nice big offer, ACC offer. So I was like, okay, maybe I can do this.
You played for Patrick Surtain in high school, which for listeners who don't know, Surtain was a darn good cornerback in the NFL, multiple-time Pro Bowler. What was it like to play for him with somebody who had such a great NFL career?
It was really fun, man. Those are years that I'll always cherish and enjoy. Just being under a staff with him and guys like Daryl Porter, Oronde Gadsden, just a lot of people who have a lot of NFL experience. It really just builds the foundation and it is a good stepping stone for getting to college because you realize once you get to college, like the information that was poured into me back then in high school is extremely relevant to what I learned here. So I would definitely say that staff was some big stepping stones for me in my football career.
Oronde Gadsden, that was not a name I had on my bingo card today. That is a great reference from about 25 years ago.
Absolutely.
Wasn't, I would say, an elite player, but when you want to talk about a complimentary wide receiver, like a number 3 guy, he was really good.
He used to show us this tape and we used to be like, dang, that was you. Like, we can't believe it. But he's definitely taught us a lot. And like I said, I feel like those were major stepping stones.
Because you're a tight end, and tight ends obviously involve a lot of route running, and Gadsden, as a wide receiver, knows something or two about route running. Was there anything about that he taught you that helped you see the field better?
I say mainly he taught me more so as far as how coverages go, like how they move and how to look at the safeties and look at the box, the numbers and everything like that. So I definitely say he just taught me the fundamentals, which are the important tools to help you move and play faster.
Did he also get a chance to teach you anything about hand placement in terms of catching the ball?
He did. Like we used to start every day with drills. He would throw what he calls knuckle balls, but basically he would just grab the football and not throw it traditionally. He'll kind of like throw it from the side, grabbing the tip of the ball, and the ball just comes any type of way. But that was, well, one, getting our eyes and our hands hot, but two, just teaching us that there's not always going to be a good ball, but you still got to make a way to grab it.
You talked a little about the recruiting process and getting that first big offer. Do you mind kind of talking a little bit further about what the recruiting process was like for you?
Our recruitment process was interesting. I would definitely say I had good opportunities just being at the school I was at. And obviously, when you have big name guys like Patrick Surtain, Tyson Campbell, Anthony Shores, those guys, there's definitely scouts that come along. I'm basically a byproduct of that. I just have scouts there and I perform the best I can in practice. And then you end up catching an eye or two. And that's how you get on the radar with more schools. So I was definitely blessed in that aspect just to be in the faces of some great schools, great coaches.
How did you end up going to Georgia Southern?
If I'm being honest, that wasn't like my original plan, but I'm very in my faith and I was praying on it, telling God to show me a way. And there were a couple of things that ended up falling through. And Georgia Southern was always the school that was the most consistent with me. And all arrows just pointed to this school. So I was like, you know what? This is the choice I need to make. And honestly, I'm forever grateful for this place and the people that I've come across. This is one of the best choices I've ever made in my life.
For people who've never been, what Statesboro, Georgia like where Georgia Southern is?
What I'll say about Statesboro is not really much to do, or at least it doesn't look like it. But as a college student, if you want to go try to find some fun, you can definitely find it. But like I said, there's not really much stuff to do, honestly, which is a benefit as well. You can definitely stay out of trouble here. But I would say it's definitely growing from when I first got here to now. Like, there's definitely a lot of different developments and stores and restaurants that are coming up. So I think Statesboro is going to keep building into a nice town.
The last time I was there, it might have been a one-horse place. Is there any kind of, because most college towns have this hangout type of restaurant?
There's two places like right across the street from each other. A lot of people like to go to Nat's Landing, and right across from it is Del Sur. I'm pretty sure the same guy owns both of them, but Del Sur is like a taco place, and Nat's is like sports bar food and stuff like that. And they have karaoke night on Wednesdays and like 75-cent wings. So it's definitely a nice place that college kids like to go to just to eat and have drinks and stuff like that.
I'd be torn on that because I'm not a karaoke guy, but 75-cent wings speaks to me.
Absolutely can't beat that at all.
Going back to high school here for a second, we'll get back to Georgia Southern in a minute. But you won 2 state titles. Is there anything that sticks out from either one of those title runs?
The main thing was the camaraderie of everybody, just everybody being together. That really goes back because American Heritage is a K through 12 school. I've been at American Heritage since pre-K 4 and I finished through 12th grade. And a lot of guys have done that there. So it was just the camaraderie of like being able to win with the people that you hang out with the most and that you love the most. Those are unforgettable times. So I'll say that's probably what made our team the best, just everybody being so together.
What's it like to win a state title?
It's amazing, man. When you reach a championship, those are priceless moments that nobody can ever take away from you. And it's very rewarding to just grind it out with the guys that you put in work with basically the whole year. And you guys all work for one goal and that goal finally comes true. So definitely rewarding.
You mentioned that American Heritage is a K through 12 school, and I know a little bit about it from the football side, but academically, how strong of a school is it and how well did it prepare you for going to Georgia Southern?
American Heritage is excellent academically. Like we've definitely been like top 5 in the nation as far as academically. Like they're definitely very advanced. So I would say the school definitely prepared me a lot. When I got to college, like when it came to like writing papers and essays and using like your different vocabulary. And I know a lot of guys came in struggling with college because a lot of kids go to high schools where they don't necessarily do much work. But I would definitely say American Heritage, that they didn't leave room for any of that. Like if you weren't doing right in school, like there was no shot of you playing.
Speaking of solid academics, how much was academic stress in your house growing up?
It was stressed a lot. My mom, my dad too, but my mom especially, she was definitely on us. It's funny, we would come home from school at 3 o'clock and my mom would always give us 30 minutes. So we get 30 minutes to put our stuff down, like get a snack, whatever we need to do, watch a little TV, whatever the case is. But once it hits 3:30, we're ready to go and we're ready to lock and load on homework. We have to put our phones, everything like that on this one counter, plug it up. We're hammering the work.
For me growing up, my mom said I couldn't have the TV on, but thankfully there was a thing called the mute button that helped me out. So you were really well prepared for Georgia Southern. So when you got on campus, that really wasn't much of an adjustment for you in terms of academically, but in terms of the city and stuff like that, because it's much, much smaller than where you grew up, how much of a culture shock was it?
This was the biggest culture shock I've ever faced. When I got here, it was just very astonishing to me. Like, I didn't really know any other style of living other than being for Fort Lauderdale, definitely used to the city and all that type of stuff. So coming here, like, I've never seen a cotton field before or anything like that. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, it was actually really funny, like, coming in. But I'll definitely say I was homesick for sure the first 2.5 years. It's really hard to adjust. Definitely being family oriented, putting that together with not being used to like a small town like this with not much to do, it was definitely a recipe for a lot of homesickness.
Was there ever a moment that you ever thought, you know what, I'm going to go back home. This isn't for me?
I had plenty nights like that. Honestly, being completely transparent, like there would be some nights I'd cry myself to sleep. 'Cause I'm like, I cannot do this. Between the stress of like football and being in a place you don't know, like any other kid coming in, like it's definitely always stressful. But I definitely had a good foundation, had my good parents to talk to. And my dad could definitely relate. His career kind of got jumped off early and going to the Olympics and everything like that. Just growing up, he was always leaving home and always away. So he definitely understood like what it was like to be homesick. So he was a person that I could rely on and talk to and empathize with.
Was there anyone on the Georgia Southern campus that could relate to you?
There was definitely some guys that were definitely homesick too as well. And then what we did have in place is Dr. Harris. We can go talk to him really about anything. So I definitely went to him and I talked to him, just told him what the situation was, how homesick I was. It was to a point I wasn't even like eating, honestly. So the training and nutrition staff working with me and paired with Dr. Harris, making sure my mental was okay, doing all of that stuff definitely helped me.
Would you mind elaborating more on who Dr. Harris is? Because I'm not sure that everyone listening is aware of who that might be.
I like to call him the mind doctor, but basically he's a sports psychologist and we have him on staff. He comes and talks to the team from time to time just to work out the brain. Cause honestly, like the athletes, like we spend our time, you know what I'm saying, like working out our body and everything like that. But a lot of the game is mental and life is mental. So you got to train that just like you train your body. So Dr. Harris definitely plays a pivotal part in all of our performance.
How important is it for you to be right mentally, to be successful on the field? Because mental health in sports for many years was very much ignored.
It's honestly pivotal to me. Like as an athlete, I'm sure everybody knows this, but like when you go out on the field and something's off mentally or just not having a good day, like that definitely always shows up on the field. Somebody can tell when you're off. So if you don't have your mental aspect in it, then you could kind of cancel Christmas on the rest of it because that's definitely pivotal.
Your freshman year ends early because of COVID. Kind of take me through what that was like when all of a sudden there's a lockdown. How did you end up getting back home?
They were kind of giving warnings as far as like what was coming and that there was a whole pandemic transitioning throughout the country and stuff like that. So our school did a good job of making us evacuate campus on time. Once we got down home, everybody was kind of safe, but the coming back process was kind of interesting.
What was the coming back process like?
It was definitely like a lot of apprehension. Obviously, there were some people that definitely wanted to come back, and everybody was wondering like how we're going to do this as far as getting ready for the season, this, that, the third. And then there was also, on the other hand, there were a handful of people that were very concerned with their health and didn't really want to risk anything, didn't want to leave home and all that types of stuff. So it was kind of all over the place.
At the end of your freshman year, did you take finals and stuff like that online from home?
Yes, sir, sure did. That was an interesting process too, having all the teachers transfer everything over to online and trying to make sure everything still flows smoothly. That was definitely interesting.
For you as an athlete, because everything's under lockdown, so you can't go to a gym or anything like that to work out, how are you able to stay in shape and be ready for when and if the next season were to happen?
We definitely didn't stop. We had a certain group of guys we worked out with. Mike Smith, he's the guy that all of the athletes from our high school go back to work out with. So that was our strength coach on staff, but he's now the head coach at American Heritage. But like I said, we all just stayed in one group. We wouldn't venture out anywhere, and we would all just work out like in his garage. And that was probably the best time of grinding that we all had. All of us, my brother, myself, Brian Burns, definitely came out and had some of our best seasons. So Mike Smith was definitely pivotal into playing a part in that.
Because everyone couldn't go anywhere, was it nice to be able to spend some extra time with your brother? Because I'm guessing you guys weren't able to spend a whole lot of time the prior couple of years together.
I say it to this day. Like, I actually talked about this with my family probably about like 2-3 weeks ago. But as crazy as it does sound, quarantine was definitely one of the best times of my life. Because honestly, like, it really makes you take a step back and really be grateful for the things that you might take for granted when life is moving so fast. Like spending family time and just being able to be with each other, like with your loved ones in such a concentration of time. But there were some people that are depressed, but then there were other people that really soaked in that time and turned things around in their life.
Well, it's nice that you got to have the family time and you recognized just how important it was.
Absolutely. It's always a blessing. Every time I get a chance to spend family time, I'm there. That's just kind of how I've always grown up. My mom always did a good job as far as keeping us together, even my dad was on the road.
Speaking of your mom, because we've talked a lot about your dad, but how pivotal of a role did your mom play in you growing up?
I don't know what I would do without my mother. She's the backbone of our family. She's my best friend. She's my first love, my role model, everything combined. Like, that's my girl, man. So, like I said, I don't know what I would do without her. She definitely played a pivotal part. And like I said, keeping the family together. Even in our early years, my dad used to be on the road. My mom had like a rule. She wouldn't let the family go 7 or 10 days without being apart. Because, baseball, you can kind of be on the road for quite some time. But she wouldn't let us be separated for like more than 7 to 10 days. So if that meant we had to pack up and go to whatever city, Milwaukee, whatever the case is, we were going. So I always enjoyed that. But those are the development years. So you're in those stages where if your parents are absent, like, it does kind of take a toll on you. And you might not notice it then, but you might notice it on the back end of your life. So definitely grateful that my mom always kept things together to where I never missed a beat. I never felt like my dad was gone.
Is there a cherished story that you have with your mom that you wouldn't mind sharing?
There's so many to count. A proud moment of my mom, because she graduated from the University of Miami. That's where she met my dad. She was in the School of Music there. Growing up, I would always hear about her singing at my dad's games, like the National Anthem at the Miami games and even in the big leagues. So there was this one day my dad got honored at one of the Marlins games. So we all went as a family. And they actually like requested my mom to sing the National Anthem at the game. So it was really cool to watch that.
That is very cool. How neat is that to get to see your mom perform the national anthem?
It was almost like I was starstruck, but it was my mom. It was funny, but it was really cool. I enjoyed it.
Getting back here to Georgia Southern, you get back on campus after COVID and the following season gets played. What was it like just to get back to practice with your teammates after being quarantined for so long?
The fact that the brotherhood here is so strong, you spend a lot of time with these guys, whatever, and all of a sudden it's kind of taken away from you. So getting back and everybody just being back together was definitely exciting. Guys can't wait to hang out and play football together. And just, it comes down to it, like, we're all just a bunch of big kids playing a little kid sport. So definitely cherish those moments when we got back.
In that season, you had a pretty good game against UMass, 2 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir. Sure did. That was probably like the first moment in my college career. I was like, okay, maybe I can be something. That was exciting. Definitely just putting on a performance like that in front of a crowd at this level is cool. I want to say after that game, they put me on the freshman All-American watch list. So that was crazy too. That was very cool.
What was it like to get that recognition nationally?
It was cool, man. I was just very thankful. I just took it as definitely a blessing from God, but two, just the fruit from the labor we put in quarantine time. And it definitely made me more hungry to actually make that list.
And then you followed up the next season with scores in 3 straight games. What was it like just to be able to kind of feel like you're getting a rhythm, you're getting going, and you're getting the ball?
It was definitely cool, man. 2021, that was a time where I was coming off a season-ending injury in 2020. I tore all the ligaments in my ankle and I broke my fibula as well. So I was definitely sidelined for quite some time, but just coming back in 2021 and getting back in the groove of things and starting to score again and doing all that type of stuff was definitely exciting. Because obviously when you get hurt, you don't know about how the future is going to end up, but definitely getting back in that fire and making a way was definitely cool.
Speaking of the unfortunate injury, what was the rehab process like for you? Because you weren't rehabbing just one injury, you were rehabbing two.
It was definitely tough. Definitely have some days you kind of don't know how things are going to end up, but I would say our training staff did a heck of a job rehabbing me. We had a nice surgery turnout. Everything was cool, man. I never had any setbacks or anything like that. When I started to play again, never had any like nagging injuries or anything lingering. So it was good. The process was good.
Was there a moment when you stepped back on the field, either practice or in a game, that you said, okay, I'm good?
I'll probably say just being in first padded practice, just getting back into that flow. And the first time I really just got full on tackled again, I was okay, I'm good. Like there's no apprehensions, no scaredness, nothing of that sort.
Always good to know you can get back at it and not have any worries, right?
Absolutely.
You have the COVID bonus here, and now this year you're a 6th-year senior. What made you want to come back for the extra year?
I feel like I have more in the tank. There's just more for me to do. I feel like this year I can definitely showcase what I can do and contribute to the team, most importantly. So I felt like that was very important just to be around here and contribute to the younger guys and pick back up where I left off.
Is your goal to play in the NFL one day?
That would be awesome. If that's what God has in his cards for me, I would be more than happy for it. If not, then like I said, that's in God's will. I understand. I'll get my life going, but either way, I'm definitely grateful. But I would definitely love to play in the NFL at the next level.
With your brother playing for the Broncos, is there any kind of advice that he's given you about anything that you need to do or improve on to get to that next level?
He definitely does give me advice and technique tips, especially when it comes to like route running and catching and all that types of stuff. But I say the main advice that he gives me is more of like encouragement, just to say that even when things might not look like they might pan out, just keep going. Like, because you never know how God works and you never know who really sees your talent. He tells that to not just me, but a lot of my teammates that the dreams of NFL aren't as far as you think they are. So he always says to use him for an example because his career was kind of up and down as far as when it came to college, but he definitely made a way and he's still making a way.
How close are you two? Because it sounds like you guys are pretty tight.
That's my boy. That's my best friend. We always grew up. We're 2.5 years apart, but we've always grown up side by side. We never fought, never argued. Like it was always us against everybody else. So we've always been tight.
Never fought, never argued. Do I need to ask your mom if that's true or not?
You can ask her and she'll tell you.
Looking ahead, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
There's so much. In 10 years, I see myself owning a couple restaurants, definitely on Fort Lauderdale and Miami Beach, opening up a couple extra businesses as well. Hopefully married with kids, God willing, and just making a way for myself, man. Just financially stable, nice house, and that's where I see myself.
What kind of restaurant do you want to open up?
There's a couple that I'll definitely want to do, but for starters, my main dream, like I always wanted to have like a nice upscale steakhouse. I would definitely like to have that, maybe like on a rooftop of some sort. And then I also do want to open up a nice Caribbean soul food fusion, like just to kind of show both heritages of my family.
When you mention Caribbean soul food fusion, what's an example of a dish that you create that would have both of those elements?
There's so many like combinations you could go with, but let's say I had a menu, right? As far as soul food, okay, we might do like smothered pork chops and mac and cheese, candy yams, but then also on the menu, you might have your traditional Jamaican style oxtails, rice and peas, cabbage, and anything of that nature. So food that's good for the heart, good for the soul.
You get Jamaican jerk chicken on there, I'm there.
Absolutely. That's mandatory on the menu.
Beau, I want to thank you so much for joining the I Play 2 podcast today. talking about your time at Georgia Southern, how close you are with your family, and your love of food. I could talk food all day. Thank you so much, and best of luck wherever your football career and your culinary career takes you. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate this. This was very nice.